Hello, everybody. Welcome to an extraordinary episode of Ask Haviv Anything. We are probably, possibly, hopefully, toward the end of the war, of the long war, the 21-month war in Gaza, started by October 7. We are recording ahead of Netanyahu's trip to Washington, in which President Donald Trump has already said the Israelis have agreed to a 60-day ceasefire that will get out 8 to 10 living hostages, and which is roughly half of the number of living hostages still in Gaza, and hopefully be a first step toward a final conclusion of the war under American parameters that talk about Hamas's leadership leaving Gaza and Hamas being disarmed and other forces coming in and beginning the whole question of law and order and rebuilding. So we're looking at, for the first time we can imagine that end. It's an end that doesn't have Hamas in power in Gaza, which is, of course, the fundamental Israeli war goal, and nobody has any idea if Hamas will agree to it, if levers of influence over Qatar will work. We don't know. We are in the same fog that everyone else is in, but it is possible, more than it has ever been in the past, that we are toward the end. And Rachel and I, who, if you're a regular watcher, listener of this podcast, is the executive producer and my wife and boss, have decided to take a little bit of a break from the usual kinds of conversations that we have about this war, about, I would say, history, and try something utterly and completely different that is totally new to us. So if you don't like it, that's okay. It's important to spice things up. We have invited our very, very good friends, Korem and Adam Ben Amitai, who are two of the most remarkable politicians in everyone I ever talk about is, this is the thing, I can't get off that groove, who are two of the most remarkable musicians Israel has today, and have produced some of the most important music, and I would even say culturally iconic texts of this moment of how Israelis feel. There's a residential building in the city of Bat Yam near Tel Aviv that took a hit from an Iranian missile, and there was damage, and families have to deal with it and figure out how to rebuild, and their lives have been changed. And there was a homemade banner hung up on the porch of the building, of one of the apartments, that read, "Ma nishar rak ahava," what remains only love, which is one of the truly classic love ballads of Aya and Adam, that are the vocabulary for Israelis talking about these moments and how we deal with these difficult times. Since the start of the war, Aya and Adam have also created some of the ballads of this war, some of the voices of pain, of hope. They put out a new album, and we're going to hear some of that singing today, some of those actual songs, and some of the things that they have contributed to how Israelis think and feel in these difficult times. And that's why I have a new background. We're in a studio in Tel Aviv. And I hope that this is something that we can do more of. And I'm really, really excited to get started. Before we do, I have to tell you that this episode is sponsored by sponsors who have dedicated it to something really, truly valuable. And I want to thank them for that. It's sponsored by Bennett and Robin Greenspan of Houston, Texas, who are strong supporters of Israel. They recognize Israel's centrality and vitality to the Jewish world. And they asked us to say that they are also proud to sponsor this episode and this podcast because its insights make understanding the Middle East, our situation, a little bit easier. Thank you for that. And the episode is dedicated to Edut 710EN, EDUT 710EN.org, a grassroots volunteer-driven initiative established in the wake of October 7 to listen to document, to preserve, to share, to amplify the voices of survivors, first responders, and entire communities who experienced Hamas's brutal attack firsthand. With deep care and the highest ethical standards, Edut, which is the Hebrew word for testimony, and its hundreds of volunteers work to protect and elevate these voices for generations to come. Over 1,600 testimonies have already been collected and recorded to this date. Many of them are accessible at www.edut710.org. Thank you so much. and I am going to hand the baton over to my wife and ally, Rachel, to start our conversation.
Thank you. And thank you so much to Aya and Adam for being here with us. Perhaps you didn't mention, but like us, Adam and Aya are a couple, a family. And you can talk about how the ups and downs of being creative as a couple. But first, I think it's most important to start back, to go back to the beginning, right? To where it all began. We're now, for the first time, we're beginning to see the end of the war. And it's an opportunity to remember October 7th, right? Where we all were when it all started. And you, Aya and Adam, you do a large part of your career. And one of the many ways that I had the opportunity to discover your work was through translations of Leonard Cohen. And Leonard Cohen, who obviously a Jewish audience will know as the great Canadian performer. But here in Israel, we know him as the performer who came after the 1973 war and sang to soldiers in the Sinai. And after October 7th, Aya, who was the great translator into Hebrew and adapter of Leonard Cohen's songs for our generation, to some extent became Leonard Cohen, right? As you too took upon yourselves to travel the country in those first terrifying days and to offer solace and entertainment and to lift the spirits of the soldiers, of all of us in those first terrifying days. So take us back to October 7th and that first experience.
I remember waking up from the sirens in Tel Aviv, and after the initial shock, I went on Twitter and started reading, and I slowly but surely started to understand this is different. This is not a regular siren. This is not a regular event that we and our kids are unfortunately used to. And I told Adam, I think I want to go. I think I want to go to my parents' house. They live in the north of Israel. And he didn't really understand why, and I didn't really had the words to explain myself.
Always slow to understand, that's true.
But we took the kids and we drove there, and all throughout that day, the resolution and understanding of what has actually happened actually dawned on me. And I just, only at the evening of that day, really understood what happened.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I took some time to really, we were all in shock, and it took time to grasp what was going on. For me, it took way too long because we were kind of sadly used to these kind of situations. I mean, it just happened 2 years before, 3 years before. You hear a siren, something's going on. But this was obviously a whole different thing, and I took the job for the first day of being the guy who says, well, we've been through it. It's not that horrible. It's not that big of a deal. Trying to kind of lie to everybody around me to try and calm things down, which obviously never helps. And I was like, do you not see the news? And so we went to Aya's parents and tried to, because it's safer there and far. And I think at the morning, like on October 8th, it was already kind of, okay, where are we going to perform? We got up and all the musicians were already thinking and doing it and just thinking, okay, where's the nearest base or whatever group of people hiding in a shelter that we can go and kind of do our thing.
And just understand, this isn't something you weren't called by the army or by the state or asked to do things, right? This is just spontaneous. You woke up.
We're
Exactly.
used to
Yeah,
we're used to it
exactly.
because I think for us it's not only something we can do to contribute. It keeps us busy. So I'm always not only happy to do it for other people, I'm happy to do it for myself as well. And we drove up north because in the 7th, nobody knew what was going to happen. So it's better to be in a disclosed place, in a faraway place. And then in the 8th or the 9th of October, I started making some phone calls and writing online who wants a concert, because we can get a guitar
Yes.
and come. And people started reaching out and saying, yeah, please do, please come. We need some music right now.
That's
it.
everybody mobilized all of a sudden.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
whole society. And
Yeah.
so every story is different, but every story is a little bit similar in that way.
We found ourselves doing the same things in previous wars and operations, but this was different because the way we felt about it, I think.
Yeah.
We had no guitar because we heard the sirens, packed a few things.
I'm sorry,
Went-
there's a situation that would lead Adam Ben Amitai to leave home without a guitar?
Actually,
most of the
yeah,
situations.
you'd be surprised. Like,
Because I won't let you?
no, it's like, yeah, this thing, whatever.
Adam is famously a very great guitar collector and player.
Yeah, but so we didn't pack the guitar because kids, things, let's go, and then we booked, right? Someone called and say, hey, you want to come and play for us? We didn't have a guitar, so I wrote on Twitter, well, this is where we are. Does
Please
someone
bring us
have a guitar?
Yeah.
And people said, I have a guitar. So we drove by, got this dude's guitar, and went to play something.
I'm going to say, Rachel, I would have lent him my guitar just to hear it played, just to hear what my guitar can do. We want to kick off with a first song, and it's maybe your most powerful. That sad. Everybody prepare. This is going to be sad. Tell us about it.
I started translating Leonard Cohen songs around 2017 or 2018, just because I had a writer's crisis and I couldn't write new songs. So I did what I love to do always, which is translation. And Leonard Cohen is my biggest hero and my idol. He's part of my DNA. I think he's part of Israeli DNA because people here are not only fans of his music, they are so grateful for his love and support during times of war. And we started doing this show of translations of Cohen back then. And then I found myself trying to translate Who by Fire, the famous song, who Cohen wrote after he visited the Yom Kippur War and went back home and wrote this inspired by the piyut of Yom Kippur, Untanet Tokef, which is a wonderful, beautiful, horrible hymn about the many, many ways a person can leave this world, basically. And it's a beautiful piyut for Yom Kippur, and this was the inspiration for Who by Fire. And I started translating and working on the song. And then I asked myself, why isn't there a mashup of both songs? The most popular melody to this piyut in Israel is written by Yair Rosenblum as a gift to the members of Kibbutz Bet Hashita. After the Yom Kippur War, they had a memorial service in the kibbutz, and he gave the music for the kibbutz as a gift. So this whole thing is just so powerful in so many ways. The Yom Kippur War is a big thing at our house. My dad was a soldier and fought the Yom Kippur War in Ramat HaGolan. And we decided, I asked Adam to join me in this work because he's the only one I know who can make these two songs work as beautiful together as they do.
Kibbutz Bet Hashita had the highest percentage per capita of losses in 1973. Okay.
And then after October 7th, I remember you telling me that you actually, one of your first performances of Who by Fire, right, was the soldiers who requested it in a performance at the gates of Be'eri, the site of one of the worst massacres of October 7th. So share with us.
I remember this person who booked us asking this song, and I was just bewildered. Are you sure this is the song you want to listen to right
These
now?
were soldiers who were about to go into Gaza.
Yeah.
Let me just explain. Aya has some of the great pop hits of Israeli history. And a lot of soldiers wanted those. Shira Vapashut,
But their
a simple
commander
love song.
wanted the sad song of Leonard
Right.
Cohen, and they just had to deal with it.
Right.
But we were there, standing on, just grass and pine leaves and pine cones and performing in front of these soldiers, and they were sitting on these army beds in front of us. These were the chairs they were sitting on. And exactly 50 years before, Leonard Cohen, before us, performed to soldiers in the Sinai. And we were there outside of the Kibbutz Be'eri. Singing this song, of all songs, was something we will probably never, ever, ever, ever forget. ונתנה תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא והיום, ובוא תנסה מלכותך, ויקון בחסד כיסך, ותשב עליו ותשב עליו באמת. מי בעליו, מי במים, מי באש גדולה, מי באפלה, מי ביד שופט ומי ביד תליין, מי החל מכלה בתשרי, מי בשבט מלכותי, ומי זה קורא היקר. מי בהזיה, מי בחדרה לבד, מי בחיק אהוב ליבה, מי בחפץ חי, מי בעול כבד, מי בנשיקה, מי באבק שרפה, מי בדמעה שקופה, ומי זה קורא היקר. אמת כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח ויודע ואל, וכותב וחותם וסופר ומונה, ותזכור כל הנשכחות, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומאליו יקרב וחותם יד כל אדם בו. מי על קידוש השם, מי שאינו השם, מי על השנאה, מי מול המראה, מי ביד אחיו, מי בידו שלו, מי סלע עולה, מי במלמול תפילה, ומי זה קורא היקר. ומאליו יקרב
מי ינוע, מי ברבו, מי בצמאונו, מי בייסוריו, מי בסוף סופיו, מי כהרף, מי כטרף, ומי זה קורה היקר.
I think I would have been that officer asking for that one.
Haviv and I processed the war, the trauma, the incredible bravery, the privilege of being part of a nation where everybody pitched in, right? Overnight, everybody, this whole people, this whole country came together from one of our most divisive moments to a moment of incredible strength. And Haviv and I processed this war through words, right? Talking to Israelis, talking to Jews, talking to anybody who would listen, and telling the world and ourselves our story, that we are strong, that we are capable, that we are mourning, but that we will overcome this trauma. And you perhaps process the same trauma through music, through words. And one of the, maybe the most beautiful things that I saw, especially on this question of how do we talk about, how do we process the war, was the album that you put out during the war, describing, to some extent, your experiences. I remember there was one song talking about the laundry lines, right? The laundry still hanging in the kibbutzim, right? That no one had collected after attack. A handprint on a sofa, our longing for the hostages that are gone, our pity and our pain for our soldiers who are our children, who are also stuck in this tragic and impossible situation. And you called it l'chesed v'geula hemshech yashar, for grace and redemption drive straight, right? What could be a better title? Tell us a little bit about that, about how you came to this album, what you wrote, what you wanted to tell everybody.
Well, we're always working on new stuff and new songs. There's always like, what's the next thing? And I think just like 2-3 months into the war, it was obvious that whatever it is we were working on, it doesn't matter now. It's like, it's not interesting. And
Relevant.
yeah,
We don't want to
like,
sing it.
Yeah. Who cares about
Whatever that was.
Yeah. There's and we need to do something that speaks about what is happening to us all, and I think that's like a privilege to be able to speak or do things that kind of matter not just to us, but that we know that everybody's going through. So it was obvious that it's going to be an album about the war.
So let's just start with the cover art, the title. The cover art is the words "For grace and redemption drive straight" on a street sign, with the street. Is that a real sign? Is that photoshopped? What is that, and what does it mean?
It's a sweet but sad story because the sign was something I encountered before the war.
It's a real sign.
It's a real sign it's a real sign in the Yirkon cemetery, because at the Yirkon cemetery there are places, burial places that are called, one is grace, one is redemption, and the people who are arriving to a funeral or a memorial, they want to know where is the actual grave they're looking for. So I saw the sign, I was mesmerized by it, and I took a picture. And then when we started working on this album, it was so obvious that this is the name of the album before any actual songs were written.
So, what is that album about? What is it like to put out an album now that's about the war, that's about so many different experiences?
We had this idea that the album is going to be built like a kind of like a therapy session. One might like kind of like a conversation where it starts with just laying out the most
Dramatic, horrible
like
memory.
yeah.
Just the heart of the issue
Right.
you're
Just,
trying to
this is what
dissect.
happened.
Yeah.
The first song is just this very like almost cold depiction of just the fact of what happened. And it's kind of cold and distant because you're not even able to process it. Right?
It's just a song. It's called Gray Concrete Road. And it describes a house in the kibbutz where everything is left untouched after the Hamas terrorists came and kidnapped everyone from the house. And a good friend of mine who served in reserves after the 7th came to this house to clean it up. So the owners of the house would be able to come back to it and not see anything too horrible. That was his job. He volunteered to this job, and this is what he did. And I remember him calling me the night after he did it. He just needed someone to talk to, and he just described everything. And I asked for his permission to write everything he said, and then asked his permission to turn it into a song. And Adam wrote beautiful music to it. It's like a documentary, and this is the place the album starts in.
It's there's a song titled Shalom Sister, which means hello and goodbye. 342 days. We don't have to explain that too much. L'chdor habayta, to return home, is one of my favorites from it.
Expressed there was not just the experience of the kibbutzim, but it's also the experience of the hostages and how much really there were songs there for them and how much we miss them. And there were songs there for the soldiers, for their loss of innocence in this horrible war, right? It was kind of the story of everyone, not just the first moments, but the whole 21 months, right? Everyone who is scarred, everyone who has suffered, everyone who has triumphed, everyone who has tried, right?
I told Adam when we were working on this album, which was a huge privilege for us because it meant we can go inside the studio, close the door, and then only be with everything that's beautiful and just shut everything out and be consumed with music and everything that's good and beautiful in this world. And I remember we talked about the fact that every other album we put out was about the way we are feeling. Let's say I'm writing a love song, that's about how I'm feeling at the moment. But this is the first album we are writing and composing for people who are feeling the exact same thing that we're feeling and in the exact same time. And that's just so powerful for us as artists, trying to encapsulate that. The only thing I think giving us strength and power in these last 21 months is the fact that we are in this together, and you feel that as an artist as well.
So I'm going to just deploy the prerogative of the podcast host and ask for L'chzor habayta from that album, To Come Home, where the first verse reads, "Along the path behind the house, at the edge of a worn-out hill, the scent of oil on my hands, eucalyptus in my hair. After all these years together, in the end I was left with myself. The streets are empty in the evening, but you're always in them."
בשביל מאחורי הבית, על קצה החול של מריח נפט על הידיים, מאקליפטוס בשיער. אחרי כל השנים ביחד, בסוף נשארתי עם עצמי. הרחובות ריקים בערב, אבל אתה בהם תמיד. ואולי זה לא הרבה, אבל זה מה שיש. אנחנו לא לומדים אף פעם, הלב הזה כל כך טיפש. כנראה עוד פעם קצת הלכנו לאיבוד, כבר מאוחר, כמעט מחר. אני רוצה לחזור הביתה. אותו העץ, אותה האבן, ובלילות עדיין קר, אנחנו שוב עולים ברגל, כי האוטובוס עבר. החושך לא סופר אותנו, והוא עקשן ולא מרפא, אנחנו לא רואים את הדרך, אבל זוכרים עוד בעל פה. ואולי זה לא הרבה, אבל זה מה שיש, אנחנו לא לומדים אף פעם, הלב הזה כל כך טיפש, כנראה עוד פעם קצת הלכנו לאיבוד, כבר מאוחר, כמעט מחר, אני רוצה לחזור הביתה. היינו הילדים שלנו, אפילו שגדלנו כבר, ואם חשבנו שידענו, עוד לא ידענו שום דבר. ולא היה לי אף פעם בית, כמו הלב הזה שלך, בתחנה, אחרי בית ספר, מוזרים, אבל משפחה. ואולי זה לא הרבה, אבל זה מה שיש, אנחנו לא לומדים אף פעם, הלב הזה כל כך טיפש, כנראה עוד פעם קצת הלכנו לאיבוד, כבר מאוחר, כמעט מחר, אני רוצה
מאוחר, לא הרבה, אבל זה מה שיש, אנחנו לא לומדים אף פעם, הלב הזה כל כך טיפש, כנראה עוד פעם קצת הלכנו לאיבוד, כבר מאוחר, כמעט מחר, אני רוצה לחזור הביתה.
That has become a ballad of longing to return. It ends with, it's already late, almost tomorrow, I want to come home. Thank you so much. I guess we're starting to wind down here. There's an aspect of your lives that I think is really interesting to talk about the experience of this very strange period in Israeli history. You're both parents, which makes sense because you're married and there are kids that you share. And you live in Jaffa, in a town that is Arab-Jewish. It's part of the Tel Aviv municipality. And your kids go to a joint Arab-Jewish school. And you are big and long-time believers in coexistence and have a deep, concern for the future for Israel's minorities. I hesitate to use the word. You might even be considered a little bit toward the left of the political spectrum.
How dare you?
I just ruined it all for you. And yet you have gone through this time like everyone else, on left, on right, not just with a sense of unity and sharing of this experience with everyone from deep across, religious boundaries, and I would even say ethnic boundaries and political divides, but have really been a voice for that kind of unity in this time. And I meant it to be a little bit funny, but not really, because you really are very much in that world. Your kids are learning Arabic in school with Arab friends in their class. And that's not normal. Very few Arab families send their kids to schools with Jewish kids. Very few Jewish families send their kids to the language divide. There's a whole separate Arabic language school system and Hebrew language school system. And if anyone suggests, dismantling them and unifying everybody, then everybody screams racism, because the right to have your kids grow in that separate, distinct culture is part of what it means in Israel
having
to
your
be
own holidays,
having your own holiday. Right. So you really are part of, I would even hesitate to say it, and I don't want to impose this on you, but almost a movement to say, no, actually, we need much more shared life. And you see what's happening in Gaza to Gazans, and you see a lot more of this discourse than just what we can talk about right now, because right now we're talking about the Israeli experience. I just want to just put that out there. What has this been like for you? And what has this been like for you as parents? And what has this been like for you, I would say, the most extreme moment of this war? Just because we happen to be friends, and I happen to also follow your social media, so I also happen to know that the 12-day war with Iran caught you in London, and then you had to get home.
Yeah.
And flights, and the airport was closed.
We had
so
to swim.
You had to swim.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective of parents, from the perspective of people who care across many divides, I don't know if more intensely, but more actionably than most people. What have these 21 months been? And tell us that cool story about the whole train to a boat to a plane to a boat kind of getting home in the middle of a war. What was that like?
I think, first of all, raising our kids in Jaffa is a very unique experience. And for me, it's something that I can't really imagine my life without. Now that I've experienced it, it seems strange to live in a town that's only Jewish or a town that's only Arab, which is many of the places I'm used to. I grew up in Nazareth. So I think you get to see the whole picture, which is really unique, because there were a few months in this war that my brother was a soldier in Gaza. And I have friends that have relatives that live in Gaza. Their actual cousins live in Gaza. And it doesn't get more complicated than that. But I think that the majority of people who live in Jaffa are people who want to find a way to live together. And they go to extreme lengths to put the effort and to be considerate of one another, because there's absolutely no one who understands the Jews' need to stay in the place where we belong to than the Arabs who actually live here together with us. They feel the same connection to this land, and this is their only home. And when you live together, you get a chance to see it in its basic simplicity of facts of life. And these are times that our kids get to be kids together, if you take out the parts of the sirens and running to the shelter. And they get to be kids together with Arab children. And for the parents, it's just keeping it all, very simple for them. And it's a kind of effort that we can unify around, no matter what the differences are in politics.
As the Gaza war is happening, the Arab families, the parents, and the Jewish parents, you're all in WhatsApp groups, right?
Yeah.
Because every class has to have 6 WhatsApp groups. And you're trying to communicate with people whose cousins are Gazans fleeing the Israeli, essentially, war, the war effort. And that's a thing where everyone's just focused on the kids, taking care of the kids together.
You don't want to talk politics.
It doesn't come up.
At a time like this, it's too painful.
I don't think it's just not wanting to talk about the painful subjects so we don't fight. It's also because everybody kind of gets it the same way, I think. There's no huge divide. I don't feel, anyway, that there's like this huge elephant in the room that you can't speak about. Everybody knows what's going on and kind of agrees that's what I feel in Jaffa. I mean, no one wants no one to suffer, and everybody wants Hamas out. So I don't feel like it's even this. How is it possible for you all to get along? It's actually possible. We're all like, it doesn't matter you're Jewish or Arab, if you have your heads relatively speaking screwed up, how do you say it?
Screwed on right.
Screwed down right. So
good euphemism. Good use.
People I found in our neighborhood pretty kind of have the same take on the situation, which is a very different take from the take that
Which is a dramatic thing to say, because
Yeah,
from the
it
Jewish
is.
side, it means a real focus on Palestinians, and from the Arab side, it also means a sense that really Hamas is not the future of Gaza.
Yeah.
So both sides are much closer to the other side.
than what you would think
Than
if
what
you
you would
watched the news.
Right.
It's like, yeah, no one wants no one to suffer, and everybody wants Hamas out. And it's like,
Tell us the story of coming back from London in the middle of a war. I got to say, very few missiles hit the Jerusalem area. A lot of missiles hit Tel Aviv, the Tel Aviv metropolitan area, and you live in the heart of it. And that must have been terrifying. We reached out and said, send the kids to us, but they were at their grandparents, that were friends and all that. But I was terrified. So you then started this mission of getting back at all costs. What was that?
yeah, I mean, it was the same. And now that I think of it, it's the same kind of structure, like what we talked about on the day of the 7th of October, because like the morning the war started, I was like, this is horrible. What's going on?
She
And I
always
was-
knows if it's
Yeah,
done.
yeah. And I was like, oh, come on, we've been from that. Come on, don't make a big deal of it. Adam, shut up.
I don't wanted
Yeah.
to stay in London and book us tickets to Les Miserables.
Yeah. I was like,
are you crazy?
no, okay, so the thing is, we
Wait, and
we
this
were
is while your children are in Tel Aviv.
okay, so we
He's
I
a-
have to say, not,
no,
not,
okay.
I would also have done that for the
No, so the situation was this. I booked us a flight to London for my birthday as a surprise. We were 3 days just having a good time, and our parents took care of the kids. And then the war broke out, and I was like, okay, so you're telling me we can't go home, and our kids are with my parents, and they can't do anything about it.
So let's see a show.
So, yeah, it's like, is this my dream come true right now?
Anaya said, geopolitics are not going to keep me away.
She
The whole
knew-
collected armies of the world.
Yeah.
For Adam's
exactly.
defense, I have to say this is a conversation we had before the first missile hit
Tel Aviv.
hit Tel Aviv,
Exactly.
and this is like when we don't really have a clear understanding of what's about to happen. We know that Israel attacked in Iran, which is huge, but nobody knows what's next.
Yeah.
And
The moment the first missile hit,
Yeah.
that was like, oh, this is a whole different kind of thing.
And I basically did what everyone who has kids in Israel did at the same time, which is go on 5 different Facebook groups of skippers and captains of boats and 5 WhatsApp groups, and started to look for someone who could take us from Cyprus to Israel, which is a thing that people did around the 7th. It's so funny to think about people trying to get back to a war zone and paying so much money and putting up so much effort, just
is
trying to
crazy.
get back to a war zone.
Yeah.
It's Israeli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
Classic.
Israeli.
It's
And
classic.
it wasn't just you. It was, what were the numbers? 60,000 people?
More.
70,000 people? I mean, and even those might be low, right?
We
Of
were,
people just streaming back towards the ballistic missiles,
Yeah,
right?
No
I mean,
flights. When
We
they
were
were-
Right, no
on
flights.
in the marina in Cyprus, kind of boarding the boat, and people were trying to find spots, just walking around the marina and asking skippers, "Can you take me to Israel?
And the
Do you have
captains
room?" And
were
people-
so lovely. They were Israeli people just
Trying
trying
to
to help others and
Yeah.
saying, I'm so sorry, I'm
I
already
can't-
booked.
I'm already booked.
Please talk to
Help
my
me."
friend.
Like just people walking around
Yeah.
trying to get home to where all the missiles are falling. But yeah.
Yeah, I want to wind down with a question that we have to ask after all the drama and the pathos and the sadness and the it's been a couple of years now. Those were some strange years.
Maybe now it's the time to end with the hope, right?
So exactly. So you know most of your music is fun, and it's funny, and it's about having uncomfortable conversations with your mother, and going on dates, and taking too much time to put on makeup. I'm sorry to do this in public. You guys are fun and funny, and the special kind of funny that's kind of sarcastic and a little bit mean, which is like really like fun funny, not like and you nevertheless can produce these anthems of resilience and hope. I want to end with the story that we started with, which is this apartment in Bat Yam. We have no idea who these people are. But this photograph of an apartment in Bat Yam hit by an Iranian missile, where they put up this huge banner that's drawn by hand that says, what remains? Only love, which is your most famous love song that you will tell us a little bit about where it comes from, and then we'll hear it and that'll sing us out.
Well, two of our best friends got married. So they had a big wedding, and we wanted to give them something special. Plus, we're musicians, so money wasn't...
So you're poor, yeah.
Right. So we hope to writing them a song might kind of get us off the hook with the check. It didn't work, but we did write the song. And I wrote the lyrics, I composed the melody.
I remember singing this song, one of our first concerts after the 7th of October was in a unit. There's a special unit in the IDF that's basically their responsibility is to go to the families of wounded and killed soldiers and tell them the news. They're the people who are knocking on the door at 4 a.m. And this is the unit that was unfortunately so busy in these first few weeks after the 7th. And they asked for a concert, and we went there and gave one. And we tried to keep it light and fun, because these people, you know, they deal with the absolute worst. And you had like young soldiers who are just in charge of the logistics, and you have the older ones, 40 and 50 years old volunteers, that they're in charge of the actual delivering of the news. And we sang them this song, and it was just so special for us, knowing that we are there with them and we can't help in any other way. This is the only way we know how. So we sing the song and they sing with us, and it's so special.
What's fun about the song, I'm just going to give a tiny bit translation bit just before it starts. The song is about all kinds of things going wrong, but what's left? Only love. An old horse, end of the race, the last go around. I would once go and sing when the city was small, and I've already seen fall, people falling apart. We knew to continue, carry on, but we were young then. You know what? Everything is sick, everything breaks, everything airs, everything comes to an end. Only love. That's the only thing that's left when everything else breaks down.
מה נשאר?
רק אהבה,
רק אהבה. שום דבר, רק אהבה.
או רק אהבה. הכל חולף,
הכל נשבר,
הכל טועה,
הכל נגמר.
רק אהבה.
אוי אהבה.
כוכבים כמו עיניים מסתכלים מלמעלה. אריק איינשטיין שר ברדיו שהלילה הוא לא לילה.
וגם אצלך בחדר לפעמים חשוב, אתה אומר הכל בסדר, כשבעצם זה הפוך. מה נשאר?
רק אהבה,
רק אהבה. אין שום דבר, רק אהבה.
או רק אהבה. הכל רופף,
הכל חיוור,
הכל סתמי, הכל עובר, רק אהבה.
אוי אהבה. מסכן, סוף המרוץ, הקפה האחרונה. היית פעם הולך ושם, כשהעיר הייתה קטנה.
וראית כבר שלכת, אנשים נושרים. ידענו להמשיך ללכת, אבל היינו צעירים.
מה נשאר?
רק אהבה,
רק אהבה. אין שום דבר, רק אהבה.
או רק אהבה. הכל זמני,
הכל מוגבל,
ומאבד
משקל אבל, רק אהבה. אוי אהבה.
לך תמיד ישר עד שתבוא אליה, לפעמים קשה, אתה יודע.
מה נשאר?
רק אהבה, רק אהבה.
אין שום דבר,
רק אהבה, רק אהבה.
הכל חולף, הכל נשבר, הכל טועה, הכל נגמר.
רק אהבה,
אוי אהבה. מה נשאר?
רק אהבה.
רק אהבה. אין שום דבר, רק אהבה.
או רק אהבה. הכל חולף,
הכל נשבר,
הכל טועה,
הכל נגמר. רק אהבה. אוי אהבה. אוי אהבה. אוי אהבה.
I think our love language, Rachel, is debating government policy. So
Their sounds
basically-
so much better.
it's basically
It's
the same.
so much better. It's good that we don't share ours, right?
in public.
Yes, it's much better that way. I wanted to end just first of all, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing something that we love so much.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
You know, Haviv and I grew up. As this is important to say, I think your first hits were when we were soldiers, right? We're all about the same age.
Yeah.
Wait,
And,
we promised ourselves we wouldn't like just fan over them. That was the
We
thing we
did,
talked
but
about.
it's now it's gratitude. We can do it
What are
now.
they going to do about it now? Right.
It's all right. They're stuck. We can edit it out
Yeah.
afterwards. And I guess we're all about the same age, right? We're all in our early to mid 40s,
Early 20s.
early 20s. And that means that we are, in essence, children of the Second Intifada, right? We came of age during the bus bombings. And everything that we have known has been the peace doesn't work, right? The peace negotiations end in just in rivers of blood. We've been in an endless conflict. Maybe first as soldiers and then as adults, then as parents, right? Trying to eke out normalcy in a non-normal world. And now for the first time that I can remember, right? Since maybe I was 11, when Rabin was assassinated, for the first time there's talk, perhaps not of peace, but of expanding the Abraham Accords, of a world, right, where we could travel. We could go to vacation in Lebanon. We could see the archaeological wonders of Iran. Maybe the Middle East that we were born to is not the Middle East, right, that we will leave our children. Maybe it'll be something that is more open. Peace is a loaded word, but maybe it'll be a place of cooperation, right, a place of stability, a place of prosperity. And maybe that stands on the horizon and that tentative optimism, right, as we come out of this most difficult period.
Our mission is to open that window that transforms Israelis from cartoons and somebody else's morality play into real people and all their complexity.
I just want this will probably be the first episode of Ask Haviv Anything that I'm not going to listen to.
You don't listen to your own playing?
No way, no.
Thank you for joining us. And thank you to the Patreon community, which helps us do what we do. Feel free to join patreon.com/askchavivanything. And we'll see you in the next episode.